Hello everyone, so today we've got a new project. We're going to be installing the Retrax retractable canister cover. This is the XR Pro model. It's a little bit different than their, I think it's MX model. This one you can get the rails that have the T-slots in them, so you can put like mounts over the cover, so you can put like lumber or whatever. We're going to be installing some mounts as well. Alright, so this is everything that basically came with it. We have the top weather strip cover for the back of the canister towards the cab, and then we have the two rails. This is I believe the right rail and then the left rail, and we have all the mounts and then the canister, and that's everything that comes. These are two different boxes. You can see the canister came in this big box, and then we had the small box for the rails, and then just all the extra parts. So the first thing we're going to do is remove all the packaging material. There's these mounts that hold the cover from sliding out, and then these are just kind of, you just pull these out. So let's pull these out. Same thing on this side. It says it right here. I don't know if you can read that. Remove bracket screw, remove the bracket, and remove the tube from the spiral. So we'll peel the sticker and pull it. Just like that. And that's just these brackets. And then we'll get this functional and in motion, and then we'll install the rails, and then we'll go from there. So I've got my drill here. What we're basically going to do is unscrew this side as well. Just like that. And so that removes that. You can set that to the side. We won't be needing that for installation. But you can see now the roll itself is free. Now we need to feed this into the rails while we screw those rails into the side. We want to make sure everything is aligned and nice and snug, because it needs to roll freely, otherwise you're not going to like how this thing functions. So let me get the rails installed, and then I'll show you how that was done. Alright, so I had to move into the garage because of the rain. It's just crazy. But I've got one rail installed. Basically the process to doing this is to unlock the cover because it's normally locked. So we can take the key that's provided, which is this key right here, and it's normally locked like that. So you just want to put the key in, unlock it, and then press this button, and then you're able to pull it out. So if you want to pull it out about 6 to 8 inches, just a little bit, just enough so you can thread basically the track into the wheels here. The bearings need to go inside this track here, so this whole track assembly can slide all the way back up until you can see there's grooves for the screws for the bracket here. So this is one of the brackets, and you'll see that same shape right here. So this piece needs to fit in this groove here, and then we screw it in with the black screws that are provided, and same thing right in here. It's gonna perfectly fit together once you slide it in properly, but you can see the finished product here. I've got it nice and basically put into the track, and you can pull it in and out, and it rolls in the track. But right now these things are really weak, I guess. It's only on those two thin screws, so we don't want to move these tracks too much. And then we want to keep them level so nothing kind of bends out of place. So I'm going to repeat the same thing I did here on the other side, and then we're going to go ahead and install that back piece as well, which goes into these guys on the top right here. So let me go ahead and do that, and then I'll get right back to you. Alright, so I've got both of the tracks installed, the left and right ones. Same method, but the screws that I was talking about to screw them in are not actually those packaging screws. You can discard these. They provide you with some silver screws or chrome. We can see right there. So those are the ones that we want to use on both sides, and then this top weather stripping towards the cab, we just slide in underneath these tracks. You can see it's a little offset here, and so it supports this guy, and it keeps it from kind of swiveling like that. And then this is going to cover the rest of the bed behind the canister. We want to make sure that the weather stripping is on the outside because it's going to sit on the rear wall to cover some of that debris and water, hopefully. So everything is kind of aligned. It's not perfectly aligned yet. It's not coming out all that smooth because the tracks aren't set properly. They're too wide on this side right now, but I've just got them propped up like that, as you can see, just to kind of simulate it sitting inside the truck bed. So that's basically it for the groundwork. The next step is to take this to the truck bed, and we're going to set it in, and then we're going to align everything there, and then we'll also put clamps that'll hold it to the truck bed, and then we'll align it that way. So I'll see you guys in the truck bed. Alright, so the cover is inside the bed now. We've got it set up. We've made sure that all the seals are on top of the walls. You can see it's already being tested with the water. It's not quite installed yet, but the water is kind of veering off the walls as much as possible. I've measured the inside here. It's about 58.5 inches from the inside edge to the other inside edge over there. And it's about 58.25 from the back and back inside basically. And the center is also about 1/4 inch short. So we need to widen it about 1/8 inch on that side and 1/8 inch on this side. Make sure it's nice and square. I've also installed the clamps just to secure it in place. I've only hand tightened them. They're not doing anything at the moment. They're just, you know, just so they're there. You can use them to start adjusting everything. So what we want to do is, since we want to move this wall that way, or this track towards the wall, we need to loosen these guys and tighten the clamp so it'll pull it that way. And then you can see that the track is a little tilted towards me like this. We don't want that. We want it to be level. So we're going to tighten this up so it kind of hopefully pushes it out as well. In terms of placement as to where it goes in the bed, like lengthwise, there's a little bit of play. You can move it back and forth. You can either put it towards the cab or push it out towards the tailgate here. But the way to do it is to take those shipping brackets that came on the canister, and they have little, as you can see, they have little measurement grooves. So this is 1/8 of an inch here, and we want to use this groove here to basically keep a gap between the tailgate. So this is the measurement. You want it to be snug like that. Don't push it so much where the tailgate gets pushed out or anything like that. Just, you know, just so it's snug. That's kind of the measurement for the tracks to sit. Hopefully that'll keep it square. Now we just need to widen this 1/8 of an inch, and then widen this 1/8 of an inch, and then we'll tighten out all the clamps. And then after that, we have holes down here. Let me see if I can show you. We have holes right there. Now those holes are the drain holes. There's two. There's one on the other side as well. I'm not sure if you can see it. But what we want to do is take these rubber covers that come on the bed already. They seem like they're metal, but they're not. They're rubber. You can see from the other side. They've been coated over with the truck bed coating. So what we're going to do is we're going to drill a 1/2 inch or a 5/8 of an inch hole. I'm going to do a 5/8 of an inch. It's just a teeny bit smaller than the hoses that came with the kit. And that'll keep them snug, and it'll also seal out anything else, so nothing can get in basically. The only way it can get in, anything like rodents or something, is through the pipe, but I doubt that's going to happen. That usually doesn't happen. I didn't have an issue with that before, but we want to keep it as nice and straight of a curve as possible so debris doesn't get stuck. Like these pine needles and stuff can get stuck in the pipe and the canister, and then it just doesn't drain, and then it'll overflow into the bed area here. So I think we're pretty much ready. It's a little confusing on the canister side here. There is an outer like mounting bracket, and then there's an inside one as well. You can see it here, right here. So this is the one that I'm mounting to because the bracket doesn't get wide enough to hold this. But we'll see how that works. Yeah, so you can see that there's teeth inside here as well on this wall for the clamp itself. And then back here, we can see that the light is kind of interfering with this adjustment bolt here, so the bracket sits a little crooked. Unfortunately, that's just how it is because this is where the bracket sits. It sits between these white plastic adjustment screws, basically. So it is what it is. I'm going to try to make it work. Hopefully it'll all work out. Let me adjust this side and the other side, and then we'll tighten it all up, and then I'll show you the finished product. Hopefully it'll roll nice and smooth, and then we'll install the racks up here as well. So let me do that real quick, and then I'll get right back to you. Alright, so I've gotten everything installed, the cover and the tracks, and everything is well aligned in the truck bed. It's rolling very smoothly as well, so you can see it's very easy to roll in and out. Going in is a lot easier to do because of the weight that's going kind of building up on itself inside. So it's a little bit easier to push it in than it is to pull it out because you're pulling all that weight and unrolling it. So it's very well aligned. The tools you're going to need to install this is a 1/4 inch Allen wrench. You're going to need the 9/16 socket with a ratchet handle, and then you're going to need a number 14 or 14 mm fixed wrench as well. These are 3 things you're going to need to adjust it, and then of course you'll need the keys to unlock it, so you can roll it back and forth. But basically it's a simple method to installing this. Once you get the brackets in, just to hold them in place, make sure you loosen everything. Loosen this bolt at the bottom all the way out, and then what you're going to want to do is take those plastic nuts or the screws that are on the tracks, and what we're going to do is measure the canister side between the tracks and make sure exactly what the measurement is. I think mine was like 58.5, I said, and that is the measurement that you want in the middle and in the end there, for there to be like a smooth like roll for this cover to go through. If it's off, I think there's like a 1/16 of an inch gap that is okay, but if it's any more than that, either too tight or too wide, the track's gonna have some rubbing issues and it's gonna wear out quickly, and it's gonna be hard to close and open as well. So we want to make sure that those measurements are accurate. So once we get the measurements on the inside, we can tighten this side, so the canister side, the plastic nuts, just so it's like, you know, positioned properly and it holds. And then we take that measurement, and then we come to the middle and we do the same thing. We measure it, and based on what we measure, we make sure the tracks, both tracks need to be parallel to each other, but we can adjust using the plastic screws again. You do not need to mess with the metal bracket just yet. This is just so everything fits perfectly. So once you get the plastic ones adjusted and your measurement checks out on both sides, you do the same thing at the end, and we get the same plastic screws to adjust the, you know, the width of the track as it comes down towards the tailgate. So once you do that, as you're doing that, I would recommend that you pull the cover as well and just check if it's smooth or not. That way you have like a proper alignment as you're installing it, so you don't have to take everything apart again. And once that's done, once you're done adjusting the plastic screws, you can start adjusting the metal brackets to hold everything in place. What I did was I tightened these middle bolts first, where it actually clamps, and I started again towards the canister side, and then I did the same thing in the middle. And then as I was doing all of these steps, I was measuring in between, making sure that it's all parallel and the width is perfect. And I was even rolling the shutter back and forth as well. So that's basically the installation process of how I did it. After it was all good to go and I made sure that it's, you know, easy to roll back and forth, or to my liking, I ended up tightening the bottom bolts as well, which are just basically alignments for the clamps, so they're not twisted. You want to make sure that it's all straight, as you can see. And that's basically the whole installation process. There's nothing else to it. It's very simple once you get everything set up. Let me show you real quick how it rolls. It's very nice and easy, so you can just pull it just like that. And again, I'm pulling with just 2 fingers. I didn't put any excessive force on it, but you can see everything's covered. This was already wet yesterday, so it's been a day since the cover's been on here, or maybe 2 days, but it was already wet, so it stayed wet, I guess. It didn't dry out since I closed the cover. I don't think there was any new moisture or water that got in. It's somewhat watertight, but it's not 100% watertight. So if it does rain, maybe through the tracks, you might have something that leaks in occasionally. So, I mean, people usually say that there's no cover that is going to be completely water sealed. So just be ready for that. If you don't want something to get wet, then don't put it in here. Maybe tools are okay, but they can also rust. But that's basically the installation process. You can kind of, since this is a dually, it's a little bit hard to kind of get leverage to close the cover. You can still see I could take 2 fingers and I could probably push it from the far end just like that, and it slides all the way. The better the push, the further it's gonna roll, and the better the alignment between the tracks and the cover itself, the better it's gonna roll all the way. So you could probably push it from this end and then push it that way, and it'll roll all the way. So that's almost 8 feet of rolling, and it does pretty well. Much better than my original Retrax cover that I had. Alright, so the hosing has been installed. You can see that I went with the side grommets rather than the rear. It's gonna be hard to get the camera in there, but you can see that the coating, the truck bed coating, has been removed, and then there was a rubber grommet inside. So I just removed that, and then I stuck the hosing right into its hole with the adapter that was given. Same thing on the other side. Now the sides, the holes just kind of ride, or the hosing right along the sheet metal on the side, so it's just coming out and then it's going down. But it's about halfway, and it doesn't go all the way down, so the water will kind of ride along the bottom of the sheet metal. Unfortunately, there's no solution to that right now, but I think what I'm gonna do is look for extra hosing that's like the same as this one, maybe at the hardware store or something, and try to find one that's maybe 3 or 4 feet long, so I could direct it all the way down and then leave a little piece like extruding or protruding after the sheet metal finishes. That way the water is guided all the way down to the ground rather than touching any metal surface or anywhere on the truck, because it'll leave like a really bad residue with the dirty water inside. So I want to try to avoid that. So I'm going to do that when I get parts for it. Right now I'm just going to let it be like this so it doesn't leak into the truck like bed area. So now all I need to do is clean this up, and the cover has been fully installed. The other thing is that these screws and whatnot that we have put in earlier, there's a torque rating to them, so this is like 32 foot-pounds or something, and then the ones on the side have their own torque rating, but I just kind of did it by hand. I think they're more than good enough. But the next step is to install the top racks here. They have 4 of these mounts that are going to install in the T slot rails here. That's why I got this model of the Retrax cover, because it has that slot T rail on the side. But basically these guys will be installed in terms of their instructions, of course, but they have these pre-drilled holes at the bottom that have threads. There's 2 that already have threads, and there's 1 that's gonna have like a tightening nut on the top. So those bolts, which I'll show you in a minute, are the ones that are going to be riding in these tracks, and then we just tighten it down afterwards. So let me prep this and show you one of them, how I installed it, and then I'm going to install everything, put it together, and then I'll show you the finished product of the entire thing. So opening one of the bags, it didn't have a label on them, but it was one of the smaller bags. There's another one that says G101 on there. There's no reference as to what bag we need to open, but just from looking at the instructions, it seems like we have the long ones, and then we have 2 short ones that are for each leg, basically. Each rack will get 3 of these, so there will be 1 long one, 2 short ones, and that bag just happened to have enough. So 4 long ones, and then 8 of the short ones. So what we're basically doing here is creating the mechanism that's going to mount or slide into the T-rails with. So we have 2 holes on the sides that just screw these guys in. And the idea is that we're not supposed to tighten them or over tighten them, because when we try to tighten them, they don't sit straight. So what we want to do is keep them loose enough so they're kind of parallel with the rest of the track. That way we can slide it into the track. Same thing for this one. Just like that. This one's a little bit less like screwed in compared to that one, but I think we'll be fine. The main piece that's really crucial to holding these tightly is going to be the big piece with the hand knob. So we basically want to put this screw like that, and then we can just screw this on like this. Just like that. And then we can leave it loose. That way we have some room for it to slide all the way in. And we can kind of see like the angle. This thing is angled, it's not straight. It has a tilt to it because it needs to kind of match the cab of the truck itself. So basically this one would be like the rear one, because the strut needs to stay, the support strut needs to stay inside. So these will face each other. So for example, if I were to install these on the left side, there would be 2 facing each other like this, and then it would kind of be tilted inwards. So this one, of course, would be meant for the driver's side. So let me show you. I'm going to try to slide it in real quick with one hand. Rack installed. I don't know how well I showed that with one hand, but there's one side of the rack installed. Now we could slide it all the way to the side like that. And so there's one part of it. These are also adjustable, height adjustable, so there's a bolt on the other side right here that we have to take out, and then we can use this button to kind of loosen the locking mechanism like that. I guess the bolt doesn't need to be removed, but it's height adjustable, so we'll leave it there for now. So now to tighten it, all we need to do is straighten it up like this, and we tighten this, and it's pretty strong, sturdy. Once we get both sides in and then we get that crossbar in, it's going to be a lot stronger. But basically there's the branding. Van and Truck Cargo Management is the company. I think this is called like their Angry Elephant model or something, but there's the look from the back. Let me install all the rest of these. Once I get it all set up, and once I figure out how to install the rest of it, I will bring you guys back and give you further instructions. So the next step here, we can see I've got all the hardware laid out. We have some long and short screws here. These are a little bit like stubby. These are much longer than that. The heads on these are a little bit like wider. These are like thinner. We've got wide brackets, short brackets with single studs, and then we have 4 hand tightening knobs. We also have 4 supports that are gonna kind of clamp alongside those screws. We're also gonna have lateral or vertical support as well with these brackets here, or sorry, to support the mounts up there. So basically what's going to happen next is we're going to take one of these studs and one of these double studs, and those are going to be screwed in or slid in into these guys, which is going to be what's mounting the top rails to the vertical supports. So basically how we want to put them in, doesn't really matter, but one side is longer, but I mean, I'm just going to leave it out like that. So we want to slide that one in. That's going to be for later. And then we also want to slide one of these guys in as well. That's going to be the main support that's going to be bolted to the vertical supports here. And then we're going to do the same thing with the other side as well. So we're going to put one of these guys in, and then put one of these guys in like that. This is what is for this guy here. It's going to be the other way, like this, just like that. And you can see the bolt on here, this bolt right here. So that's the bolt that's going to be on the other end of this bracket. So let me mount this. Oh, and there's also these kind of tie down supports. It's a good thing that they gave these, because it's really hard once you put like lumber and stuff up there. It's hard to find a place to tie things down. So the way they've showed them in the instructions is basically one goes in like that, and then the other goes in the other way like that. So we can tighten them down by hand, and then we can also tighten this nut down. That kind of permanently secures it, but for now I'm just going to tighten them down by hand, just so I've got them on the track itself, just like that, just so we don't lose these guys as well. So next step is to just take them up and put them in. You can see the 2 holes in there, so that's where that mounting bracket goes. And then we just take some washers and nuts, and we just screw it in. It's going to be the same process for these brackets as well. It's the same washers or nuts. So let me just mount those, and then I'll just get back to you. Alright, so all the racks and everything, all their supports and bolts have all been completely attached with all the brackets and everything. So this is kind of the finished product that the Angry Elephant racks give from Van and Truck Cargo Management here. So they're very strong. They don't move vertically or horizontally. Those brackets up there I kind of put wrong the first time, so they don't go underneath. You probably could put them underneath, because they do give a little cutout right there as well. But being on top, maybe if you have some lumber like 2x4s or 2x6s, you can kind of create that proper gap and then put them straight in, and then just strap them in with those brackets. So that's basically the whole installation for the Retrax roll cover, Retrax Pro XR, and the Angry Elephant racks. One weird thing that's on the racks is that this is not the only locking mechanism for height adjustment. There's also the bolt in the back that needs to be loosened every time you want to adjust the height. So right now how I have them set is just a little bit over the cab. So it's a little bit higher, maybe like 5 or 6 inches. That way any lumber can clear the cab and I don't get any scratches on that. So yeah, that's basically everything. Let me close it and show you. Just like that. you can have the cover as well as the racks, which I think some of them don't really provide, or you can't really do that with some of the covers. The other issue that I'm having is that there's some hardware that's left. They are not, this stuff isn't used. I don't know if it's just for like extra accessories and you could use them that way, but I'm left with all the extra stubby and long screws. But let me give you a final look after I close the cab. So there it is. That's the finished product with the entire truck closed, everything locked. It's all nice and sealed. You don't get to see anything. It's not exposed to the elements anymore. It's nice and sealed. I hope you guys enjoyed. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already for more tutorials like this. Don't forget to check out the mud flap installation video as well. I show you step by step how to install those. And I think this was going to be the final upgrade to the truck, if there is any. I'm going to put out another video. But again, don't forget to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in the next one.